When you can master the fact that everything gets to mean exactly what you make it mean, you will be set fucking free, my friend. You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to the pod this week. I am so excited to be here with you. This is the From Imposter to Empowered podcast, and I am your host, Jill Perrick, imposter syndrome expert, business and mindset coach, and I help my clients overcome imposter syndrome so they can sign four-figure clients and make the world a better place with the work that they do and feel like the empowered expert doing it. And when you're listening to this on November 9th, your bitch better be going to Mexico in a couple days. If you don't know, I sometimes record these episodes about a month early so I can get them all out and make sure that you guys have fresh content every single week on the pod. My ADHD wants to strongly resist this because I'm a last minute kind of bitch for a lot of things, but not my podcast. Anyways, Dustin and I, my fiance, better be getting our butts ready for a tropical vacation when this is released. Come check on me on Instagram at your coach Jill, because if for some reason we're not going on vacation, I will need all the thoughts and prayers that I can get. And I'm just really loving the work that my clients and I are doing in our coaching sessions. My private coaching is for 6 months, and we start with a 2-hour deep dive where we see what's working and what's not working in your mindset and your coaching business. And then we create a plan to get all the results that you came for, the deep subconscious inner work, the confidence work, and the signing four-figure clients work. We meet weekly to execute this plan, and you also have access to me via Voxer for the entire duration of our coaching. If you want to see client results, you can go to the highlights on my Instagram, or I can connect you with a past or current private client. 6 months of private coaching is currently $8,000 USD pay in full, or $1,333 a month. Book a sales call with me at the link in my show notes, and I can't wait to work with you. One of my private clients literally just started, and she is already showing up and selling like a motherfucking expert. She had the realization through just one message on Voxer that she's in a league of her own and has something unique to bring to the table, which has been so huge for her confidence. We've also started shedding so much shame around her having a neurodivergent brain, something that she didn't even realize until she was listening to all my podcast episodes. And a couple sessions ago, we did time techniques, one of my subconscious mind techniques, to help this client release heavy emotions and a belief that she had been carrying around since she was 8 years old. And it was wild. Honestly, sessions in private coaching are life-changing. So before your girl gets booked out for the rest of 22 and beginning of 2023, book a sales call at the link in my show notes now. So speaking of my client building confidence in herself to show up as the empowered expert that she is, today we are talking about how you can gain confidence as a coach and leave imposter syndrome at the door when you're trying to grow your coaching business. So I have some really straightforward lessons for you today, and while they might seem simple, I want you to allow them to really sink into your subconscious and let yourself turn them over, because they are goodies, okay? So just trust me, listen to this episode, and just let these lessons sink in. Let what I'm gonna say sink into your subconscious. So my first lesson is this: nothing means anything. So we're getting super existential right off the bat. When I say nothing means anything, I truly, deeply mean this. Because when you are growing your business, and honestly, just when you're being a human, your brain naturally makes everything mean everything. And when you feel like a fraud, you will make everything mean that you're not good enough. Rejected on a sales call? Not good enough. Got no likes on your Instagram post? Not good enough. But let me tell you something. When you can master the fact that everything gets to mean exactly what you make it mean, you will be set fucking free, my friend. So let me give you an example. This year has been hard. Emotionally difficult, you could say. I was diagnosed with ADHD last year, actually, and I really struggled with the diagnosis because I had lived my entire life thinking that there was something like fundamentally wrong with me. And there was. It's just I didn't need to feel shame about it. So that, and my income was actually lower than it had been in previous years. And I was honestly very depressed because I experienced anxiety and depression alongside my ADHD. So working on my business felt like work, which is fine. Work is work, but it felt like really, really hard. I don't want to do it kind of work. And I was trying to be grateful for the life that I had built, but I was very much depressed. And it didn't mean shit about who I was and what I was able to have and receive. I actually had an experience with Dustin, my fiance, where I needed him to cover a couple bills for me for the month. I had made a large investment into my business and fucked up the numbers somehow and needed his help covering something. And my lizard brain generally thought that he wouldn't love me anymore, which is crazy. Like, I had some deep roots in achieving and providing money in exchange for love. Now, he had never made me feel this way, okay? Like, this was something like deep rooted inside of me, and I had to learn this lesson because Dustin loves me unconditionally, and I had to actually learn that, as crazy as it sounds, and that my worthiness was not in how much money I've made. And my worthiness actually doesn't have anything to do with life events, my emotions, or my achievements. My clients were and still are getting amazing results, some of them even surpassing me in income. The classic, I can help others but can't help myself, am I right? And I survived all of this because I am the imposter syndrome queen. And that means that no circumstance, no negative experience, no onset of heavy emotions or depression will make me feel inferior, not good enough, or like I don't have a divine purpose as a coach, or that I can't help someone. Nothing has to mean anything unless you give it meaning. Which means that you get to decide. You get to decide that what you know and where you've been is a good thing. That the things that you've been through and experienced in any accomplishment or achievement gets to count towards why you are an amazing coach. One of my past clients had so much life experience but harbored so much shame about her experiences. She's a woman of color. She had gotten divorced and experienced a lot of judgment from her family for doing so. She worked a big corporate job, etc. And a big piece of her coaching was reframing all of it. Everything she had been through made her more competent, more experienced, more legitimate. But she thought it made her wrong. So lesson number 1 recap, you get to decide what things mean. You get to decide what you make experiences mean. Not your parents or your family of origin or the patriarchy or what society tells you is right or wrong. You get to decide what it all means. Lesson number 2 is a little more strategic. I want you to niche down and be as specific as possible straight out of the gate. This post blew up on Instagram recently, and I think that if you're claiming you're multi-passionate, it's probably contributing to your imposter syndrome. You are just being broad, vague, and it is rooted in the fact that if you were to nail down what result you help someone achieve, if you did get specific, you're afraid it would expose you as a fraud because you worry that you can't actually help somebody get a result. But niching down and getting specific helps you build confidence. You can actually get specific and develop a process and dig deep into your soulmate clients and what they want and need from you and how to solve their specific problem. It helps you master your craft in one area without spreading yourself too thin. It helps potential clients seek you out for your specific expertise, dubbing you the expert. It helps you create programs and offers way more easily because you know exactly the issue they're struggling with. If it exposes your imposter syndrome, so be it. That's okay. Remember that feeling like an imposter isn't the truth. It's just a dysfunctional way of thinking. Your feeling of not being good enough isn't the truth. It's just a feeling. And once you can realize this, you can get to work on getting specific and start solving problems for your audience and for your potential soulmate clients. And it will actually help cure your imposter syndrome because you'll feel like and become the expert at one thing, so much so that people will think you're the only person that they can go to for help with that specific problem. This helps you become the expert because you develop your own thoughts and philosophies around these things. I always ask my clients to look at their niche and look at the specific thing that they are the expert on, that they're calling themselves the expert on. And I say, what would you think about this if there wasn't any outside noise? So if you didn't think about what your coach thinks, if you didn't think what your audience thinks, if you didn't think what your family or society thinks, what would your opinion be on it, right? Because your philosophies and what you believe is such a strong piece of your coaching, and that is what you are selling. You are selling how you think about things, right? So becoming the expert helps you develop your own thoughts and philosophies around your niche. And it helps so much when there's a specific problem you're solving because you become the go-to expert. And then moving on to lesson number 3, your imperfections are your money makers. No, really, they are. I swear to God, I'm not just saying that. And here's why. Stories are what embeds into people's brains. When you tell a story, they are able to see from your perspective and envision themselves in your position, deeply being able to relate to you. And the things that you perceive as limitations or imperfections, you are not special. Someone has them too. No, seriously, they do. And when you are open and honest and authentic about your own struggles, people relax. They trust you. And there's a relatability there. And why relatability is so important? It's because we all want confirmation that we can do it, that we can leave the toxic boyfriend, that we can stop yo-yo dieting and have a good relationship with food, that we can sign the clients, Like we want to be able to see ourselves in those who are successful or who have information that we don't, because then we start to believe it's possible for us. It's why I share about my stutter, my ADHD, my depression, my highs and lows with business. I express it so candidly because A, if someone is turned off by the truth, then they're not my people. And B, my story is someone else's, just in a different font. Imposter syndrome thrives in isolation. It wants you to stay ashamed of your thoughts and feelings. It doesn't want you to share your stories because deep down you think that you're the only one feeling that way and that you are some special snowflake that things don't work out for. So when we let the light in and when we take the power back from our stories and actually tell them without shame, we give permission to others to feel what they feel and experience what they experience and still believe in the results that we are selling to them. So let me give you an example. I tell the story all the time about how, when I felt like a fraud in the beginning of my coaching career and when I first started being an imposter syndrome coach, I actually directed a client to sign with somebody else. And this was entirely because of imposter syndrome. I told myself that I wouldn't be able to help her, and I was so anxious and panicked about it that I was like, hey, actually, perfect fit client, you should go with this coach instead. And that was so common for me when somebody would compliment me or be like, oh my God, you changed my life. I'd be like, no, it was all you. It wasn't me. Or I would rationalize and tear myself down because I was just so uncomfortable with receiving and with seeing myself as this successful, impactful coach, right? And if I felt shame about this experience or thought it made me look like a fraud, especially because I'm an imposter syndrome coach, I wouldn't share this story. But I actually have so many clients who have said that story helped them so much. One of my clients would talk clients out of working with her on sales calls because her imposter syndrome was subconsciously affecting her ability to see the worthiness and value of her work. I tell stories like this all the time. Like when my launch flopped and I felt like a fraud, I posted about it because my fraudulent thoughts and stories aren't true. They are just stories my brain wants to tell me, and it wants to keep me safe above all else. And this is why I love working with highly sensitive women, because the strong emotions paired with the tumultuous events of being an entrepreneur, imposter syndrome is going to come up, and that's why we have to own our experiences. We have to reframe them in a way that supports our authenticity, because if we don't, we end up hiding, we end up holding back, and we end up being boring copycats of somebody else and not seeing the true impact of our own power, our own personal power. So to recap, 3 ways that you can gain confidence and leave imposter syndrome at the door. Number 1, you get to decide what everything means about you, about success, about where you're going. 2, be as specific as possible about the problem you solve for your clients and the results you can help them achieve. Become the expert and develop your own thoughts and philosophies around those things. And 3, embrace your imperfections and learn how to release the shame attached to them so you can share them authentically and candidly in your storytelling. Of course, I don't want you to speak on things you haven't processed and still feel shame around, and that's what coaching and mindset work is for, my friends. But when you embrace your imperfections and love yourself anyways, your storytelling really gets so much stronger because you're not thinking, they're going to find me out. They're going to see me as incompetent or incapable. Just trust me. And my loves, that is all for today. And if you're ready to sign 4-figure coaching clients, but imposter syndrome, fear, and self-doubt are clouding your ability to show up confidently and really sell your services and to really believe that you can help someone get a result, private coaching is for you. This is a 6-month coaching container where we start with a 2-hour deep dive, and then we meet weekly for coaching calls, and you get Voxer access to me, as well as access to my entire product suite of courses, resources, and trainings. Book a sales call at the link in my show notes to get started. The investment is currently $8,000 USD pay in full or $1,333 a month for 6 months. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Head to the show notes to find out how you can take this work deeper with me in one-to-one coaching or in the From Imposter to Empowered group program. In the show notes, you'll also find a free 3-day challenge to start the process of overcoming your inner imposter. And once you're done with all of that, screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram, tagging me at your coach Jill so we can connect. See you next time.